What's up, everyone, and welcome to another show of Average Rob Runs, where we're going to be talking about another shoe today. This one is the New Balance 1080 V10, the Fresh Foam 1080 V10. And I'm going to give you kind of my initial review of it. I had about scheduled to be a 10-mile run today. I only did about 8 miles in this particular shoe. And I'll get into that in a little bit, but I just wanted to disclose that I did purchase these shoes with my own money, and the reason why I have the V10 and not the V11 like some other guys are reviewing at this particular point is because, as my saying is, never pay full price for a pair of shoes. So you can get the 1080 V10 for some incredible values right now. Regular price MSRP on this shoe is $150, but you can get it on sale anywhere from about $100 to $120 right now. So giving you some really good savings compared to the V11 that just came out, which the V11 does have some updates mainly to the upper of it, but from the midsole and the outsole is pretty much exactly the same. So if you're okay with maybe slightly older upper, then I think this is going to be a really good shoe for you. So moving on into this shoe, some of the specs that are behind it. It's got a knit upper with, as you can see, kind of this nice heel flare on the back. It's got the Fresh Foam X midsole foam material, and of course on the outsole here, got plenty of that high abrasion rubber that New Balance uses here. So going on to the upper, some things that I really liked about this is this knit upper. It reminds me a lot of the original Nike Flyknit material. It's just super stretchy, super comfortable, really conforms to your foot, especially in the toe box area. It does have some structure right around the toe area, which is kind of nice. That way it kind of allows your toes to move around. It doesn't kind of scrunch down on your toes. So I do really like that. And the fact that if you do have a slightly wider foot, it does have a slightly narrow toe box. Let me go on that. It does have a slightly narrow toe box, but because of how stretchy this material is, it conforms to your foot so well that I didn't find it an issue where I was in any discomfort running down the road. Now, today's run was a 10-mile run. It was 10.62 miles. Average pace came to 8:52 a mile. Now, I do want to disclose something at the end of this video about that 10-mile run earlier today. So over the mid-foot area does have a really nice lockdown, and I like the fact that it does use a little bit of that knit material, about maybe a third of the way up that tongue area, and then it goes to kind of a traditional, it's a gusseted tongue, so you can see inside there it does have the gusseted material in there, so it is a gusseted tongue, so it gives that sock-like feel, but I do like the fact that it goes to a traditional type of tongue material up here. I do feel that this tongue does stick up a little far when you do have the shoe on. So that is something that is a little, and I think that's something that they changed on the V11, is they did change the tongue a little bit. Now, the sides of it over the midfoot, you do see that they did add some stitching. They got the New Balance N right here, and this stitching right here does add some structure to that midfoot region. So it's not all just this stretchy knit material, which is something that I kind of like. It does add some structure. It does give you a really good lockdown. Those things are something that I do really like about this shoe. Now, I've heard others complain about this, I guess the ankle area. I didn't have any issues during my run with the ankle, any discomfort there. In fact, this is probably one of the most comfortable ankle areas that has almost no padding around it, other than maybe just a little bit in this heel cup area. But there's none around the outside. And I do have to say that this is probably the most comfortable ankle area that I've seen where it doesn't have any type of padding. So that I'm throwing in the Epic React Flyknits, I'm throwing the React Infinity Run Flyknits. You know, there's a couple of shoes that I have that don't have that any padding around the collar area. This is probably the most comfortable one that I've ever used. Now, this heel cup area, really unique design, because I mean, look at this excessive heel flare right here. It's really, really unique. I haven't seen this on too many shoes that I own, you know, that are that excessive. Let me put it that way, that are that excessive. But I do have to say it provides an excellent lockdown. I didn't have any heel slippage at all. And in fact, having that pressure kind of taken away by this flare here, away from my Achilles tendon, was super comfortable on the run. So I really did enjoy the upper on this. The lockdown was really good. Not the most comfortable lockdown that I've used, but it did a really, really good job in the fact that it was able to stretch and kind of mold to my foot as I was going on the run. I thought was fantastic. So that was a really good positive. Really like the upper on here. I know that's, you know, they changed the upper for the version 11 to be maybe just a little bit more comfortable. But even with the version 10, I find the version 10 to be super comfortable, especially when you're trying to just put in those miles. So now we go to this Fresh Foam X midsole, which has a stack height of 22 millimeters in the forefoot, 30 millimeters in the rear for an 8 millimeter drop. That's the information that I was able to find on the internet for it. It looks a lot more than what they're saying that it has. And this foam is so super squishy throughout the entire ride, and it has this really big rocker design, which we'll get into that here in a second. But the comfort on this is really good. It absorbs impacts really well. It has, surprisingly enough, a lot of energy return, which is kind of a surprise when you look at this shoe and you would think that this is a max cushion shoe, that there's as much energy return as it has. It actually has a lot more bounce than I was initially thinking it would. So you can pick up the pace in this shoe relatively easily. I don't see an issue with that. Now, my legs, 35 miles this week. I'm not used to doing 35 miles, so my legs were really, really beat up. There's a lot of things that went wrong on my run. I'm going to get into that in another vlog about that particular run, about my Sunday run today. But first wanted to talk about the shoe. In fact, I might just tag it at the end of this video here. So the midsole is, in my opinion, it's incredibly comfortable. I didn't have any problems on the run. My calves, my ankles, everything felt great during the run. Didn't have any knee problems or foot problems at all. The only thing that I thought was just a little uncomfortable is in the forefoot area. It's a little firm. Okay, so a lot of cushion back here. So if you heel strike a little bit and roll forward, which is, you know, what I tend to do, the heel strike area was great. It absorbed impacts really well, which made the ride really good. And that's why my Achilles, my ankle, my heel, my knees, I think everything feels so much better because I was able to land in that area where it seems like the shoe really wants you to land. But that forefoot area, I'm not gonna lie, it was a little firm. Again, this is initial review. This is my first run in this shoe. And so later on in the run, I started to feel that firmness, and it started to make the ball of my foot kind of uncomfortable, okay? So, and maybe that goes away with time. Maybe once it's broken in, it becomes a little bit softer, so on and so forth. But for this initial review, it's just a little firm in that front, you know, toe box area when you land and are pushing off. It's just a little firm there. So that's the only thing that I kind of found a little discomfort in the shoe as far as its ride is concerned. The outsole, Got plenty of rubber right here. I can see this lasting a fairly long time. I do see you can tell it's incredibly grippy, but there are a few of these little pods here that I'm already seeing, you know, again, I'm a heavier runner, so I'm already seeing just a little bit of excessive wear right at the beginning here of these particular pods. And it's not all of them, it's just a few of these pods where they're just getting a little extra abrasion on it. But overall, for my first run, I think these shoes are going to last a really long time as far as the rubber is concerned. Now, going back to that rocker design, one of the things I liked about this is because one of my favorite shoes is the Glide Ride and the Evo Ride. Both of those shoes are those type of shoes where the running almost becomes effortless because of that, you know, big rocker that they put in the front of the shoe right here. And this kind of carries along that same ideology with that excessive rocker right here. So it transitions really well, and it takes a little bit of that pressure off of your calf muscle, off of your ankle, so on and so forth. And it just kind of helps you go through the strides a little bit with a little bit less effort, I guess you could say, a little bit less energy being used. So overall, I thought that the ride on this was actually really good. Now, I'm going to get into the last 2 miles here in this shoe. And the last 2 miles, because of that firmness that I was feeling in the front, and also being a brand new shoe, maybe going a little bit too far for a new shoe that hasn't really been broken in yet, I decided to come back to the house and change out my shoes, in which I actually did throw on for the last 2 miles. I threw on my Nike Winflow 7s to finish the 10-mile run. That being said, these shoes did, 3/4 of that run, if not more than 3/4 of that run by themselves, brand new out of the box, on a run. So overall, I was very pleased with how the run went in these shoes. I have no qualms about it. I think it just needs to be broken in just a little bit more, because when I think about some of the other shoes that had to go through the same process, and I kind of think about my old Nike React Milers, and I think I had to break in those a little bit. I couldn't just go straight into a 6, 7, 8, 9, 10-mile run. I had to kind of ease into them. So it was kind of like a 5K easy pace, and then an 8K easy pace, and so on and so forth. So I think that's what needs to happen with these, is once these get broken in, I think they're going to be great. But I do have to say, this Fresh Foam X is super soft. I mean, look at how soft that is. And even in the front area, super, super soft type of material that they use here. I really like it. It's responsive. It absorbs impacts really well. I'm not going to say it's bouncy. Maybe, I guess it is, but it does have some response to it, which is kind of surprising, because it allows you to pick up the pace with such a huge stack height like that. It's just crazy what this thing can do. So that's kind of my initial review of this particular shoe. Now, let me just say, on the run today, the run itself was a rough one, okay, for a number of reasons. One, there was a lot of things that, in my opinion, I did wrong personally, not just with the shoe, not having a shoe that was broken in to go out on the run, but also doing some things for myself that I don't think I did properly to prepare myself for a 10-mile run. And one, it starts with rest. Now, I did take yesterday off. I took Saturday off of running to kind of rest, see if I could get my legs fresh. And I did that for the most part. I mean, I went for a walk with my kids, but other than that, I just rested most of the day. And when I woke up, I actually felt really good. My legs felt really fresh. The problem is last night, I didn't sleep very well. I was tossing and turning. I was hot, I was cold, there's a lot of things that were going on with my body that just made it so that I didn't get the exact rest and recovery that I felt that I needed to go on a run like this today. That being said, I got up and I didn't eat anything. I usually, on a long run like this, I would eat a banana, I would eat maybe some blueberry muffins or a granola bar or something to kind of give myself some carbs and some energy before going on the run. I didn't do that. I also just took a little pre-workout mixture before going on the run. That was it. I didn't drink any extra fluids. I didn't, have any extra nutrients in my system. It was just pre-workout, and then come out here, stretch, and go for the run. Now I did bring my little water bottle, handheld water bottle that I picked up, and some gels or chews, I guess you could say, energy chews that I put in a little pouch right here. And I filled this up with some Powerade to go on the run. But I'm not gonna lie, it wasn't enough, because I noticed that early on I was fatiguing really badly. In fact, the first 5K felt fine. I'll be honest with you, it felt fine. I felt great. But after that 5K is when everything just started to go downhill. I could tell going into mile 4 that now everything's starting to hurt. Now everything's starting to go downhill. I'm starting to not be as comfortable as I was. And it wasn't the shoes, it was just my body was starting to break down already with exhaustion, with fatigue, all that stuff. And I was doing what I can. Every once in a while I did have to stop and kind of stretch a little bit to see if that would help. But I'm not gonna lie, during that entire run, it was incredibly difficult for me to just keep pace, keep moving. And I don't mind running slow. And in fact, that's what I was trying to do, even in the shoes, was I was trying to slow my pace down, maybe get myself down into that 9-minute range, maybe over 9 minutes, anywhere to 9 minutes, 30 seconds. I didn't care about time. Time was nothing. It was going the distance. That's what I was focusing on. And guess what? I just couldn't get the distance in the way that I wanted to. At one point, I got to mile, trying to remember, I think it was mile 8, just over mile 8. And that's when I had to basically stop, walk back to the house, which is about, about a half mile away. I had to walk back because just things weren't going right. And I knew I was becoming dehydrated because it seemed like the sweat was really starting to slow down. It's actually starting to get pretty warm out and humid here in Florida. So a lot of things going against me, but that's what I got to train for, is for the heat and humidity. And so as we started to go along, it wasn't working. So I walked back to the house and I said, you know what, let me change out of these shoes, because it almost seemed like the shoes got to the point where they had become stiff. And I said, I need to get into something softer. And in which case I knew immediately, get into those Winflo 7s, because they are probably one of the softest shoes that I own. Get in the Winflo 7s and let's finish out the 2 miles. And I'm glad I did, because after I was able to get those shoes on, I was able to pick the pace back up just a little bit, not much, but just a little bit, and was able to finish out the last two or so miles out of that run. So a lot of things going against me today, but that's just a part of running, and you learn from these mistakes and you move forward. Tomorrow for sure, rest day, because my legs are absolutely beat. I don't think I could go anymore. It's hard for me to even think about standing right now, to be honest with you. Standing in front of this camera is it feels like it's beating me up. So thank you guys again for watching this video. And as always, guys, go out there and enjoy the run. Thank you.